It's hard to excerpt from this, for a lot of reasons. It's an epic poem. As you can see tonight, I like write long poems. I wish I could write short, sweet poems like Gary, but mine all come out long. I'm long-winded. This is an epic poem in length. It's almost 200 pages. And it covers, as Ezra Pound says an epic should and does, it contains history. So some of the history, I have to write down this. And incidentally, Gary has a poem in which he talks about the buffalo as an epic. So that's Montana's epic right there, epic animal. But this poem has a history of the civil rights. It has a history of poetry. It has a history of the trumpet. It has a history of science, a history of sports. It has all these different histories in it. And so I'd like to give you, a taste of what's going on, but as I say, it's sort of hard to pick and choose. But I'm going to read a little bit from the chapter entitled Woodshedding. And woodshedding in musical jazz parlance is where someone is very diligent and self-disciplined in his or her practice of an instrument. And the famous story of Charlie Parker was that he went up in the Ozark Mountains for a month or 2 months and came back down and had learned to play every key in the major and minor scales. He could play anything, and he came down and just blew everybody's mind away. So he was woodshed. That was the example. So KD stands for Kenny Dorhan. And so in the poem, sometimes I use Ken, sometimes I use Kenny, sometimes I use K, sometimes I use KD, to vary it up so I'm not always saying the same name over and over. Ken's prodigious ear at 5 years old could pick out keyboard boogies cold. And from Sis's 78, he could already tell Louis on trumpet an equal of Gabriel. At 10, the family agreed to let him live with his uncle in the capital city, where in 03, student poet John Lang Sinclair wrote his Eyes, sung by UT fans, give even now their hookem sign. And in 31, at Hotel Driscoll, after a Texas freshman heard the power and grace in Louis Horn, he faced his racism with shame and scorn. The Negro's notes, as if from outer space, spin in an orbit he had never known. And in 54, Charlie Black counseled for case of Brown versus Board, the seeds early sown. In 39, Sis had convinced their daddy to buy little brother a $14 horn. So off-key, the bandmaster said he was never in tune, so got him a newer, better, his silver calm. But soon, the director had to send Kay home, ordered him to get out of this music room and don't come back for stomping his feet, doing Dixie Doodle to a swinging beat. For 4 long days disallowed in the class, dying to return, then his folks took him in for a serious talking to, exacting a solemn promise to straighten up, fly right, practice every day, to learn by heart a predictable Sousa march. Sousa march's loud refrain, its softer trio, and to stay in step out on the football field, yet with classes over, Louis still his hero. For hours, copying Dipper's hottest licks, from hymnal to alley and Storyville stalls, echoing back to him off pine wood walls of his uncle's barns seasoned acoustics. And it goes on and on. It gets into all kinds of things. And then here's a kind of a history of the trumpet in literature, just a little bit. Sea beast of Grendel's mater, startled by Thames, Tuted's arrival of Geet with troops, hunting horn din of Pearl's green night, Chaucer's wooden beams, the village poops, Geoffrey's mock epic of dawn rustled fox, outwits Chanticleer till opens his mouth to brag when fortune allows a sly cock's comic escape, a moral tale without a doubt. Another rooster crowing the coming dawn, dispelling the specter of Hamlet, father king, horns braying response to Claudius' drink, flattery's profanation as sycophants fall. Cleopatra's tart, couriers, senative tidings, Tybalt blaring Juliet dead, hatred's sightings, a tucket in Henry V, sonnets in Macbeth, the clamorous harbinger of blood and death. I'm mentioning different kinds of trumpets or horns there, in all those works. And then I say, brasses vibrated from barnyard to castle, by bannered cherub or the incorruptible, pealing endless reports of love or shame, vow or final reckoning, forever proclaiming. His chosen instrument storied in any age, yet never the same, ever differs in length, cylindrical crook or tubular bell, as page flourishes a decree, the herald assembles. And I'll skip toward the back. Again, in that first section, I was talking about an Austin man, Charles Black, who went to school here and heard Louis Armstrong 1931 as a student at UT, and it changed his whole view of blacks. And he later was one of the lawyers that in the famous Brown versus Board. So that is one example of civil rights. And here's another late in the poem when Kenny's life is, the end of it is coming soon. And here I'm talking about other famous trumpet players in jazz, Clifford Brown and Lee. What? That's the actor. Lee Morgan. Lee Morgan, thank you. So I'm talking about Brownie and Lee Morgan. Brownie lost to accident. He died in a car wreck. He was, I think, 25. Brownie lost to accident, Lee to homicide, Booker to a kidney disease awaiting kin. And on previous April 4th, the assassination of Dr. King, in decade, the Kennedys died. Martin's eclipse under the astrology sign of Aries, the ram, whose image on Zodiac, the Zodiac is an album, and that's in italics. So it's an album that Kenny Dorham was playing on, whose image on Zodiac Donna Jordan drew first in order to align her sleeve art figures with monthly track of the dozen constellations. And second, because 12-16-68 album begins with Cecil Payne's In Memoriam, MLK. On bass, Wilbur Ware. Al Heath drums, Wynton Kelly piano, with Cecil on both baritone and solo, with Cecil on both baritone and alto, as KD pays tribute with his opening solo to the man who had his mountain dream. In Duke song lyrics, none to tear his seam. Not in Nashville, not anywhere. Even if he kept, like Moses, from that promised land, got locked up in Birmingham jail to free at last those of the colored Jim Crow band. At times, Kay's bird tone and slight vibrato sobbed for her and shuddered from loss. His notes on coming down trembled a keen high to low. At others, his lines lament, and yet all blown with his jubilating flow. In celebration of a life elected, though aware it would lead to a James Earl Ray, out of belief in need for nonviolence, justice, and Christian love. Payne on Barry carries on his own mourning for that peaceful protest marcher, torn apart by the high-powered NRA's sacred seconds right to bear Klan-armed hatred. Cecil's gruff low tones with Kelly's electric piano underscoring grief of Thoreau Gandhi disciples at fall of another heroic follower, yet comforted by where he rode. Thank you very much.